So the RCMP are finally saying the quiet part out loud, that is that they think traditional living is extremist. So this made me so incredibly angry. I remade my video and I am actually back. It is Thursday, July 10th. So welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie AB. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's debunk this together. Okay? So let's listen.
If someone you know was very believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards like traditional values, and that...
Okay, let me stop you right there. Okay, we're gonna go this by frame, okay? So I just want to let you guys know something. I worked through the pandemic. My husband stayed home with the kids. My husband, I came home every day, okay? I came home every day. My house was clean. The kids had their little snacks, dinner. I made dinner for me and him, but the kids had their dinner. The house was sterile, okay? I love my husband, and I think that overall he did a good job at keeping the house up and, staying home, I guess. Here's the thing. Like I said, it felt sterile when my husband was home. It did not feel loving and nurturing in the home. And that is no offense to my husband. We are the most progressive people you could imagine back then, okay? Like I said, he stayed home with our children. Do you know how much heat he got from like older generations for being the one that stayed home? He stayed home for my maternity leave too, okay? So I think I have a little bit of say, and I can bring a different perspective from this because now I'm a stay-at-home mom. So, by the way, am I here because I wanted to be here, or am I here because I was forced to be here, because I was forced to take something that changed my life forever? 7 hours north is where we could afford for us to have a house where we didn't have to pay that big of a mortgage to be able to have a house that fit all of us. 7 hours north of my family. And you guys tell me that none of this is the government's fault. So what do you expect me to be mad at? I'm apparently radical for realizing that my husband couldn't do the job of a stay-at-home mom. Okay, he just couldn't. He did not bring the same hygge, cozy, nurturing vibe that I did. Okay, and you know what? I want to tell you about something, okay? Because my husband very much tries his best. So I would leave my son with him while I would go to school, okay? And one day I come home from school and I, go to pick up my son. It's early. Tell me why this man had my son propped up on a donut, okay, feeding him, he's drinking a bottle. My husband's in the next room doing dishes. Why can't you get this done, babe? Because you don't leave a baby eating, okay? And he meant well. I just very much yelled at him after that. Like, you cannot leave the baby. There is no, this is not 6-month-old. He came into my life with my daughter at 6 months old, and she could hold her own bottle by then and would lay on the couch and drink her bottle. So he thought he was doing something that was good, okay? But that's exactly what I mean. That is the difference between a father and a mother. And my husband very much cared. Like, one time my son fell off of a top bunk at Niagara Falls. I seen him get the fall broken by his brother, so I wasn't so worried about him. But my husband was so unbelievably worried during COVID, like the height of everything. He took him into the hospital. I didn't even think he had to go because I just couldn't even grasp what had happened to tell him, hey, he's okay, because Eli broke his fall. But anyways, I'm just saying that my husband's a caring person, but I truly am at the point where I only think that I think that mostly women, including me, who, like I have spoken up against this gender stuff because I was an emo kid. I very much felt masculine because I had ADHD. By the way, that's not to say that you couldn't possibly be a good mom if you're a working mom. It doesn't matter, because we live in a time where you can be a working mom. But when I stay home with my kids, it's called extremism. It makes me literally I don't know who this Kermit Frog RCMP looking. I genuinely, like, I'm gonna trip out. Because I have been gaslit into people, even on the right, saying that, like, tradwifism is dangerous. And I'm like, I'm not seeing, like, there are obvious tradwife trolls. And like I've said, you're not actually a tradwife unless you're Amish and not on the internet. Saying, like, they're promoting this, it's far-rightism. No. I literally, before I got into the whole political scene, The Five Pines was my original name of my podcast, and I was talking about having ADHD, being a homemaker, because all of the voices in the homemaking space were all very, like, prim and poised and good at everything that they did, and I wanted to be a differing voice, and I would share, like, making flower bouquets, my recipes, homemaking tips, and then all of a sudden I started getting called names like tradwife and extremist and far right, and I'm telling people this is happening, and they're like, no, you're being silly, that's not actually, people aren't actually saying that to you. Yes, they are. They have been since the beginning. That's why my thing on TikTok used to be college educated tradwife, because it would make both sides of the aisle mad. But let me tell you, it made the left way more mad than anybody on the right ever was that I was college educated. Okay, there were a couple comments, that's how I got the thing, but way more about tradwifery. Okay,
people isolating themselves and changing their behavior, like changing what they're saying on a subject, like becoming more extremist, like, and if someone, you know, was very believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards, like, traditional values, and that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist. But we also have to remember that having the most extremist views is perfectly legal in Canada, and that it's only acting with violence to prove that view that becomes that.
Okay, so where do they stop with the violence thing? They said the Freedom Convoy was being violent, and they were not being violent. So where does it stop? What were these people doing? Tell me and show me the proof of what you guys found with this extremist group out of Quebec who was going to take over a piece of land of Quebec City. Tell me. And what differentiates them from the people in our streets asking for the Prime Minister of India for his head? Can you guys tell me that? And you know what's actually very extreme and what actually changed people's views a lot? Your overreach during COVID. Yeah. You guys fundamentally changed what you believed in, which was pro-choice, which was bodily autonomy. And it fundamentally changed who I am as a person and my physical health, because you guys decided that there was no such thing as bodily autonomy anymore. And then if you were pro-choice, it's literally only about schmishmorshmans, okay? Not about your actual bodily autonomy, because we know you guys didn't actually do the research during BLM or Every Child Matters to indeed figure out why parental rights exist. Oh, imagine that. Or realize what the government and pharmaceutical companies are capable of. Do you see my eye twitching? That didn't happen a lot before. 2021. And then all of a sudden, correlation doesn't equal causation. We're forced to take something to maintain our livelihoods. And you guys get to call us extreme if we don't agree with it. Okay. And you know what? I'm not apologizing for being upset, because they have done so much to mothers and women in general to remain politically correct that this is just the icing on top of the cake, okay? You can no longer say that they are not doing a full-on attack of the nuclear family when they come out and say that if you all of a sudden believe in traditional, which, by the way, I was fully on board with their Marxist leftist ideology until I witnessed life for myself and witnessed them going against everything that they say that they believed in. It came from the erosion of our rights during, the panini press era. It came from working in a school and watching DEI take over and call me racist and divide us even more than we already have. It took me watching them repeating history. Okay, it took me having a girl and a boy to realize that girls and boys are different. Okay, I was somebody who was brainwashed, and all of a sudden, the government breaks all of my trust. I unpack all of these layers of all of the brainwashing that I have been done, okay? And thank God I still remain like a very neutral, center-leaning, objectively kind person in the wake of all of this nonsense, because I gotta tell you guys, like, it's exhausting. This is exhausting. I shouldn't have to stick up for motherhood. The left is doing this thing all of a sudden where they act like the most misogynistic. Like, there's a video going around on TikTok right now that a woman will not listen to any other woman if they have kids because she thinks they're so stupid that people couldn't possibly have a good enough reason to have kids, and she thinks that women are stupid if they have kids, so that she won't listen to their opinion. That's where we're getting. That's where we're getting. What I don't think that these feminists realize is that they are feeding the cog in the capitalistic machine that they say that they hate so much. I like capitalism. I don't like whatever elite, globalistic, oligarchy nonsense that we are dealing with right now. I don't personally think it comes off as full capitalism to me at all, okay? And by the way, somehow convinced people that these other religions are not extreme. And that you're racist for being concerned about certain things being brought over to the country. Kind of like honor unaliving, stuff like that. Yeah. So, I truly don't know what to say other than I told you so. This is a blatant, like, this is, like, I would really love to know what this Quebec group was actually doing. I don't believe a word that they say. I don't believe the government at all. And the RCMP warned everybody of that. That Canadians would realize that they have been duped in every single part of their life, and it's going to piss them off. And you're going to see people start to revolt. We're already seeing people, like I said in New Liskeard, taking down hydro poles and acting like trailer park boys because it's so hard to live in Canada. So, it sounds some like funny joke of like a minority of people. I don't think it was, it's Trailer Park Boys. It's hilarious. I just cannot believe that they came out and said this. And, I don't usually go low and say anything about looks. But, like, really? She does look like Kermit the Frog, okay? And what is she saying? Sure sounds like a puppet to me. Anyways, guys, tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you guys had any aha moments when you realized these people were lying. Like, when I tell you it took me watching Blair White, and I've always watched Blair White, to tell me we don't actually get our period. I was like, these people on TikTok had me convinced that they... Anyways. Okay? It was their extremism. I probably wouldn't even think twice. If this was just regular feminism, and you guys handled 2020 the way that you handled 2008, people wouldn't be... And it bothers me, though, because this is exactly what I'm saying. Even when the RCMP are touting this language, what hope do we have? When any of our social systems are deeply... And I'm telling you, this happens because unions, if any place is unionized or government funded, they are getting DEI training, and this is the stuff that they are taught. I know because I went through it. Instead of preparing for the comeback of the panini press in 2020 September, we sat there for 3 weeks and learned why we were racist. Yes. We are the extremists. I can't even say it because it's so stupid. Oh my God. As usual, please let me know what you think in the comments, and this will be up later today. Excuse me while I go take care of my children. You extremist, you.